Welcome to www.univrm.com, and today is one of our opinion articles titled, Be Afraid Europe, Be Very Afraid. Most of us in Europe are focused on the economy, debt, jobs, and our social programs, creating secular governments promoting human democracy and equality. When we think of social ills, we worry about, after all the topics just discussed, issues like immigration, radical Muslims, attempting to impose Sharia law, and countries that probably should not have been granted European Union status because they are not developed enough to enter our union. Their values, economies, governments, and people do not share the same secular humanism or social democracy virtues we embrace. Most of us pay at least some attention to American politics and actions, but as we have witnessed recently, they aren't going to help us out due to their own economic troubles. The title of the article is Be Afraid Europe, Be Very Afraid, and we should heed that advice and start to take action. The U.S. government, the same country with embassies in all our countries, which look more like military bunkers than diplomatic outposts, incessantly meddles in our politics, pontificating on what we should and should not do. Our greatest worry is not a nuclear Iran, a minority of radical Muslims, or even our own pressing economic and social programs, but the U.S., our alleged ally. We all know, for lack of a better term, that theocracies, monarchies, and quasi-democracies in parts of Asia and the Middle East are full of people like Iran's President Mahmoud Ahmadinejad. I have no idea if I said that right or not, but close enough. We also know the ex-Soviet states in Eastern Europe, to a greater or lesser degree, are not in step with our cultural, economic, and human rights progress. President Putin's recent political vote rigging, a cause for some concern, but even he is not as radical as the political turmoil embroiling the United States. When we say be afraid, Europe, be very afraid, here is why. The U.S. presidential race is comprised of Democrat, President Obama, who is not as good as we hoped, but more of a continuation of U.S. policy we can endure. The Republican opponents should make all of us very afraid, and our government and people should speak out. The top Republican contenders from the U.S. Senate, or from the U.S., include Mitt Romney, a member of a Christian cult in America, started in America by Joseph Smith, a Mormon, claiming he was a prophet in the same vein as Jesus. The cult is controlled by a theocracy of 12 members. His stated positions include he will revoke a woman's right to choose for abortion, call for a constitutional ban on gay marriage, reinstate the death penalty, increasing prison sentencing. In a previous article, we pointed out 45% of Americans between the ages of 12 and 23 have been arrested in a country which jails more people than anywhere else on the planet. He will decrease or erase education programs. He will enforce prayer in schools, make pornography illegal, stop stem cell research for disease cures, effectively doing away with collective bargaining for unions, oppose to any tax increase for any reason other than war, and has stated opinion that the president, if he was elected, can use military means against any country without a declaration of war. He will remove all gays from the military and reinstate federal sodomy laws. Is for torture, has said he may use nuclear weapons on Iran, and wishes to increase America's military forces and industrial complex. Mitt Romney, the frontrunner, fundamentalist Christian cult member, has more in common with Anders Breivik, who massacred people in Norway due to his belief, than with your average European. Are you afraid yet? You should be afraid, very afraid, because he is the least radical of all the other contenders. It gets worse. Rick Santorum, political positions even more extreme than Mitt Romney's, wants to create a government run by Christian law, not secular law. This is the Christian equivalent of Muslims wishing to impose Sharia law on us in Europe. Go read about his position on the internet. Then there's Ron Paul, age 76, He has views which range from the far right, think pre-World War II isolationist America, to basically disassembling the government of the United States. Newt Gingrich, of all the presidential candidates, this is the one who should be running on the hypocrite ticket. He is for all the same positions as Mitt Romney and Rick Santorum, but he's been divorced multiple times, including one of his wives who was dying of cancer at the time, sanctioned by the U.S. Congress for ethical violations, and has never met a position he won't change in order to get elected. And Rick Perry, this Texan cowboy trying to defeat Mitt Romney by being, believe it or not, more radical than any other candidate. Be afraid, Europe. Be very afraid. Because this is what is looming on the horizon, and after suffering 2 world wars, we don't need another lesson in fascism. Do you really think the Americans will all of a sudden stop interfering with our countries if one of these candidates is elected? Of course they won't. They will continue to unilaterally do whatever they want, as they always have. Do you have confidence in the American people to not be that stupid and elect radicals? Please watch the news report from RT News, and it's by no means a staged event. You can watch this article by going to our website and seeing it hypertext linked into the body of the article. Our 10-year-olds have more common sense and human values than your average American. What can we do? Don't buy anything American. Don't invest in America. Let them know that fanatics on any continent are not something we accept, and we will and can take action. Yes, we should be afraid, very afraid, but we saw the rise of Hitler and Stalin. Let's remember our history and speak out against these nutcases now, before it's too late, and once again we're dragged into war or another religious inquisition by a lunatic ally. This has been an opinion from www.unidrm.com, and we hope to bring you more videocasts and podcasts in the future.